This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of another purge of the BS, sanctioned by the First Amendment. Frustration levels 0 to 100 have been authorized for use during this purge. All weapons are restricted. Government officials have not been granted immunity from the purge of the BS and shall undoubtedly receive the smoke. Commencing at the sound of the gong, any and all BS, especially unnecessary goofiness, will be purged without consequence. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be available, but they will be busy because they too will be watching the purge of the BS. Blessed be those who have already been victims of some BS. May God be with you all.
We can enter any home we want, and we will not. His wanting is our will on this fine night. Don't force us to hurt you. It's It's just like purge. Too many standards.
You better find someplace else to go.
I got a wicked sweet tooth tonight. And I want my candy back.
Welcome to another Purge of the BS. Thank you for tuning in on a Thursday. I'm loving it. Make sure my chat is up. Let's get a thumbs up in the chat from any of my mods, making sure I got at least my moderation folks available. Because as we did last week, I'm going to leave the chat open today. So we may get some trolls. We may. But that's what happens. That's why we purge the BS. So welcome. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you say hello in the chat. Jump into the conversation because we are about to commence. So in the spirit of the season, because this is the season, this is the Halloween season, right? Wanted to give a quick warning, I guess, to those who may not know. Every year around Halloween, they used to do this urban legend about like razor blades and the candy and all that. And I'm sure that happened somewhere at some point in time, and that's where the story came from. But I personally have never gotten any, or my kids can't. So that may not be what you need to worry about, but it seems like there's something else we got to worry about, because recently some candy got recalled, which to me is a little interesting. But we're going to check it out here. Let me make sure I got everybody in my chat up. IMZ, thank you for putting that thumbs up in there. Let me know that you can hear me well. Let me know if I'm cutting out or anything, because I cannot hear myself. I can only hear the computer. So I have no idea how I sound to you. Hopefully it's good. But nonetheless, let me get my tie right here. Oh, shouts to Men's Warehouse for this tie, by the way. Apparently Men's Warehouse doesn't mind advertising on the channel, unlike some of the other advertisers. So shouts to Men's Warehouse for that. Appreciate y'all for that. Maybe we can actually make it a partnership. But that's for some other time. But for right now, let's talk about this Halloween candy. Hold up. I ain't even bring the clip over for him yet. Hold on. I didn't even bring the clip over. Bring the clip over. All right. So some candy bars got recalled in New York and Michigan. So I'm not going to play this RFK clip here because it has nothing to do with the story. But that's how they do on Fox Business. They'll give you a headline and then you come in and then there's a video there, but it's not a video about the story. It's a totally different video. I don't know what he's got to say, but I'm pretty sure he is not talking about recalls on Halloween candy. So let's talk about this real quick for those that live in those areas. In Michigan and New York, there's the peanut butter crush. I've never had one. Looks like something I would have eaten, though. Peanut butter crush is peanut butter, brittle bits, peanut butter, and crispy rice in dark chocolate. Sounds pretty interesting. Well, apparently, the FDA has warned people. Well, hold on a second. It says people with peanut or cashew allergies or severe sensitivity could be at risk, serious or life-threatening allergic reactions if they consume the recalled products. All right, hold on now. I smell a little bullshit over here because this is a peanut candy bar. So if you had a nut allergy, you had it before Halloween came around. So you shouldn't have been consuming this anyway, regardless of if it was recalled. Am I wrong? If you have a nut allergy, you weren't supposed to eat it anyway. So why did they say that to the people who have nut allergies? They knew better anyway. So peanut butter crush bars come in purple and yellow 2-ounce boxes, and the cashew cow bars are packaged in light blue 2-ounce boxes, and they give a lot number and all this kind of stuff. Now, I've never had either one of these, but this is for people that like nuts in their mouth. And it doesn't look like this one actually has peanuts in it. It's got peanut brittle in it, which is sort of peanuts. But the point is, like, why are they telling us this if they only wanted to warn people who had nut allergies? It's stupid. I hate when they do shit. Steps have been taken. Well, what's the problem? Hold on, let's go back. What's the problem? I don't see what the problem is yet. Hold on, let me go back to the top. Maybe I missed it. There's an allergen risk, but if the allergen risk was only for people who had nut allergies anyway, then what was the point of the story? And why would you recall something for nut allergies if it's obvious that it has nuts in it? The person who's got the allergy has to be a little more careful. It says they may contain undeclared peanuts. So what are undeclared nuts? I don't know. I don't like this story. I don't like it. I thought they were going to tell me that there was, some flesh-eating bacteria in them or something cool. All they're saying is, hey, if you got a nut allergy, don't eat the bars that have nuts in them. Like, they didn't know that before, then that's their fault. All right, well, it was like that. I didn't like that story at all. It was supposed to be a warning. It was supposed to be a warning for people who were doing Halloween, trick-or-treating. But one, I ain't never seen those candy bars before. Two, if you have a nut allergy, you should just stay away from stuff that has nuts in it. We don't need a recall because you irresponsible with putting nuts in your mouth. That's all I'm saying. Let's move into this. That just really had to warn the people of what? To do what they should have been doing anyway? Speaking of people and things doing what they should have been doing anyway, I know you guys have been hearing about this Amazon, right? Now, I know I touched on it the other day, just briefly, regarding 600,000 jobs that were apparently lost, but they were future jobs. They weren't present. It wasn't 600,000 people got fired. That was where I got some misinformation, okay? So I have no problem going back to say that was incorrect. 600,000 people did not lose their jobs. 600,000 jobs that would have been created in the future will not exist for you. That was the... Now this seems to be something else going on here. There's a lot going on here. So let's just cover it. See what we got. So it's a short first. Okay, it's a short first, and then it's a long. I got it. So apparently this is Josh Hawley, who is disgusted by the insane pay changes at Amazon. For the humans. Okay.
Corporations in the history of America, the biggest corporations in the history of the world, the richest corporations in the history of the world. They're making money like we've never seen before, but they don't want to pay their workers. A lot of times they don't even want to have workers. They don't want to have American workers. Look at Amazon. Here's their net sales and net income. In 2024, Amazon's net sales topped $600 billion, $637 billion to be exact. Their net income doubled from 2023 to 2024. Doubled. Their CEO is getting paid, let me make sure I get this right. In 2024, Amazon's president earned $40.1 million in total compensation. 40.1. The previous year, he'd earned merely 29.2. I mean, that's an unbelievable. That's great work if you can get it. That's an unbelievable raise. Only problem is, according to their own financial disclosures, Amazon's average worker, average employee worldwide is making $37,181. The biggest corporations in the history of America.
Okay. What was the second piece?
Amazon says it's cutting 14.
Okay, this was the one. So Amazon is actually cutting 14,000 jobs. So the 600,000 that we talked about before, that was future jobs. So that's a correction. I'm sorry if I got anybody stirred up with that information, but that was a future prediction of amount of jobs that would be lost by automation. In this case, they did fire 14,000. Let's talk about that.
Amazon says it's cutting 14,000 jobs as it ramps up spending on AI. In a message to employees, a company official says the reductions are aimed at reducing bureaucracy, removing layers, and shifting resources toward, quote, our biggest bets and what matters most to our customers' current and future needs. Meanwhile, UPS says it's cutting 48,000 jobs. ABC's business reporter Alexis Christophorus is here with the latest on all of those cuts. So, Alexis, Amazon said...
All right, so let's just pause that real quick. That is 60,000 jobs already, just in this story, lost to AI upgrade. 60,000 people, humans, won't have it. Okay.
As its recruiting teams will help these people whose jobs are being cut get other positions in the company at whenever possible. How is that going to work given their investments with AI?
It's going to be challenging, in short. You know, just a couple of months ago, the CEO of Amazon, Andy Jassy, sent out a note to all employees saying, look, artificial intelligence is already changing the way we do business, and it's going to take some jobs away. And we're seeing that now happening with these 14,000 job cuts. There are reports out there that Amazon will cut up to 30,000 jobs over the course of months, but Amazon has not commented on that. They are confirming this 14,000 number. The company is doing what a lot of large companies are doing right now, and that is doing more with less, because they're realizing they can grow with fewer employees because of the help of robotics and artificial intelligence. And also, let's remember, and Amazon also mentioned this, during COVID, we all went on the online shopping boom. When that happened, Amazon doubled the amount of warehouses it had and went on a hiring spree. And it's still, these many years later, trying to roll some of that back.
UPS also says it's making cuts. They had sort of forecast this, but this is a lot more than the 20,000 they had said.
Right. So far this year, they let go of about 14,000 workers in sort of blue-collar positions, 34,000 in what they consider white-collar positions or corporate jobs. But they're already saying they're going to be able to meet demand during the holidays. It's an interesting time for UPS to be doing this, because you think, well, they're going to have such demand with all of us shopping online and needing to get packages.
And this is normally when they start hiring temporary workers,
exactly.
Right?
And I think that really speaks to the heart of how artificial intelligence is truly changing the labor force.
All right, hold on a second. I'm just making sure I caught this. So even though they have a ramp up of the holiday season deliveries, UPS is still cutting 48. Amazon's cutting 14, and it will be 30. UPS is cutting 48 in the middle of a hot season. So if they can do that now, then I'd say by second quarter next year, they'll do something a little larger. This is actually kind of scary, because if you can get rid of that many jobs right as you're going into the hot season of your company, that means when you come out of that hot season, and you'll be able to fire some more people.
because UPS and Amazon, while these are big numbers today, they're not the only ones. I mean, in just the past few weeks, Target said it's going to eliminate 1,800 jobs. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, GM just this week announced job cuts. You see there on your screen, Molson Coors, the beer maker, and then communications companies Charter and Paramount. We're expecting more of these job cuts in the coming months as AI becomes a bigger piece of the pie for these companies.
Interesting. Okay. Well, is this inevitable progress, or is this some type of preventable devastation? Because it seems like we can't slow this thing down. You either get with it or you get run over when it comes to AI. If you don't know how to operate it or teach it or help it with modeling or any of the identification, like basically, training it, you're not a programmer, you're basically not going to have a job. If it can be done by something automated, they're going to eliminate you. Now, I believe that at some point, there's certain things that AI can't do. But when you have communities that have warehouses and things like that, that I know that can be automated, shipping, they got the automated forklifts that drive around, grab stuff, put it down, load the truck. You don't need people to do any of that. You have a guy in the office, I guess that's just in the office watching all the automated things do stuff, but you won't need any of those people. And those aren't necessarily high-skilled jobs. So they're not even high-paying jobs. So a lot of the people who have those jobs aren't even making a lot of money. That's kind of all they got. Not all of them, but there's definitely some people that fit it today. So this is actually kind of sad. I feel like we're watching our own demise in slow motion. And it feels fast, but if you really want to be honest about it, this AI thing has been building for years. The Terminator came out in the 80s. They already knew this was coming. So now here we are, and I don't think people know what to do. There's no new skills to be gotten without money. Like if you want to learn how to be a programmer or something like that, just being a novice from doing your own thing at home, nobody's going to hire you for that. Like that's cool that you can do that you have a little skill for it. But if you don't have some paperwork behind you or a really long work history in that particular field, they're not going to want you because they're going to want people who are more advanced as these things advance. So yeah, there's a whole segment of the workforce that is about to just be replaced. That's why I call it the Great Replacement. So welcome to the Futurama. The craziness that will become our future is humans fighting with robots for jobs. So imagine you're interviewing for a job and they're trying to decide, do we go with a human or go with a robot for this? Running into here. So who really benefits from this? I mean, the shareholders initially will benefit from it, right? But if there's nobody earning money, then nobody can buy the shit that the company sells. And that'll also put the company in. So it's like you got to balance it somewhere. The automation can't do everything because once it does everything, then there's nobody to consume that which you produce. So it does have a cap. Where that cap is, I don't know. I'm not sure how many people will be out of work by the time it reaches that cap, but there's eventually going to be a cap. So I wanted to jump into this other piece of AI that just hit the market here, and everybody's talking about they're going to buy this new robot because the new robot apparently affordable now. So instead of the Optimus robot that was 20 grand, you had to pay 20 grand for, they just dropped this new robot called Neo. And I want you guys to see this because I'm telling you, it's the Great Replacement. So this is your hospitality people, folks that do chores and things like that in hotels. This is what they'll be replaced with. Small little robots that, if you think about it, if it's a $20,000 robot, pay a human 40. Special shouts to IMZ with the $2 super chat supporting the show. I do appreciate doing so. I know YouTube is mad at me right now because of a video we put out earlier. So it's going to take a while for the algo to even allow people to see us over here. So you know what? Let me do a little boot. second here. Thank you, Z, for you're the best. Yeah, I know. And Z, you know what I'm talking about. I put it in the Discord. YouTube got pissed at me about a video. Kind of decided to keep us down for a little bit. Okay? So put it over. Quick. This is not many people in here. I'm sorry for the delay here. It's just I realized the YouTube native algo is not going to push this out into it. Sorry about that. Well, we'll see what that does. All right, let me keep it moving. And IMZ asked a really interesting question. How do humans pay taxes if they don't have jobs? We know that the taxes are what pay for a bunch of other stuff. So if you aren't paying taxes, then a bunch of other stuff crashes as well. So that's a good question. How do you pay a tax? If you don't have income, you can't pay any taxes. So let's take a look at Neo, because this is the major breaking news on the side of AI, because this new Neo thing is hitting the market, $20,000 all out, or you can pay $500 a month for it. It's like renting, leasing a nice car, leasing a nice Lexus or something like that. Spend $500. Let's see what they talk about.
My name is Purge, and today we're launching Neo, our humanoid for the home.
Neo, the robot, Nene.
Let you live with it?
Yeah.
You just now telling me? Well, what does it do?
Like my chores. I just leave and I come back and they're all done.
Are you kidding me?
No.
I don't know about that music. Copyright. That too. All right, so they leave the robot in the house. All right, so it went from cleaning to dancing. This is what we're doing. They're going to exploit it. They're going to exploit these things. I don't like this idea. Are they going to put clothes on it? This commercial's kind of culty. Is it just me?
What is Neo for reality?
All right, let's give it a minute here.
This started when I was like 10 years old. I grew up reading these beautiful books and watching these beautiful sci-fi movies where the future was all about how we as humans, we really focus on the things that matter to us. Rosie the robot would be ensuring family had time, or Data would help humanity explore the galaxy. And I really hope that when you get your Neo now, we can help give you back some of that time. You can really spend it on what you feel is very meaningful to you.
20 grand does.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
That is copyright. All right, so what do we have here? We got some motors, we got some mesh, got a body it's creating here, fabric, wrap it in, shoes, but it has the opposable thumb. That is always, does it have a sound system? Not a sound. So it becomes a Bluetooth as well. So you can take your robot with you, and the robot can sound system.
And bring intelligence into your everyday life. Neo was engineered from the ground up for safety. Its tendon-driven body is quiet and lightweight. Its low-energy motions make it uniquely safe for you and your home. But safe doesn't mean limited.
All right, let's see what it's got. 4 hours battery life, 4 microphones, so it can pick up multiple sources of audio, 3 speakers for immersive sound, maximum 22 decibel noise level. So it's not that loud. So it can sneak through your house. And you might not hear it. It's getting a little creepy, a little bit.
Neo's hardware comes packed with features like human-level dexterity and a 55-pound carrying capacity so that it can handle any of your chores reliably. We also worked really hard to make Neo's design friendly and comfortable to be around. Each Neo comes with a machine-washable knit suit, a head, and shoes that you can customize to fit your style. As for using your Neo, we made the experience simple. Out of the box, the core of your experience is fully autonomous. The chores feature lets you schedule a time for your Neo to do all of your chores.
God, getting weird. This is getting weird, man. This is getting weird. I saw a movie about this, and it didn't end up well. It did not end up well. That's all I'm going to say. This thing is going to be in the house 24 hours a day, networked into the Google Home or whatever you got going on. It'll be fine at first. It'll be completing chores, and you'll come home, all the dishes are done, and then one day you'll come home and the dishes are done, but the dog is in the dishwasher. You see what I'm saying? Like some malfunction happened, and it thought the dog was a plate. And like, who do you sue at that point? You can't sue anybody. You bought the damn thing. So it's just getting weird. That's all I'm saying. It's getting really weird because I saw a movie about this.
So you can come back to a cleaner home every day. With the AI companion feature, you can talk to your Neo to get assistance with anything from a hard question to a household task.
Okay, this
with
is
Neo's
all
autonomy, you can
iRobot.
get access to all of its latest AI features to get help with tasks on demand. And the Neo app lets you interact with your Neo from anywhere. But all you have to do to get started is turn on your Neo and introduce yourself.
Surrogate. That was the name of the movie. It had this white lady in it with dark hair. I don't remember her name. I honestly don't remember the actors and actresses in the movie. But I remember the concept. And the guy had a companion who was a woman, and she thought she was real because he programmed their whole origin story into her brain. So he like introduced himself to her, and it triggered a whole origin story of how they met at a party. It was wild. But the thing was then connected to him and would do whatever he wanted to do. Whatever it thought would make him happy, it started doing. So at the end of the movie, it ended up killing some people because it thought that was going to make things better. But it was a whole setup. You got to go see the movie. It's not in theaters. Catch it on Netflix or Amazon Prime. But the movie is called Companion. And I don't remember the actress's name, but she's a white lady with dark hair, pretty girl, real slim. She played the hell out that part. Ended up becoming a mass murderer. But whatever. So introduce yourself to it. It wakes up.
Hey, I'm Neo. I'm here to help around the house.
Oh my God.
What's your name?
Harry.
Nice to meet you, Harry. When you have a question or want something done, just let me know.
We built a chores feature to give you your time back. You give your Neo.
So they got a good one. They got a good one because they keep pushing the chores thing. And that was my thing about the robots. I was like, look, if they start getting them where they can cook and clean and all that, people are going to purchase that. We already purchased the little robots that vacuum the floor and bounce around the walls and stuff. This thing is walking around vacuuming, dusting, cleaning the fans and shit. Just doing stuff all day, no sleep mode. I mean, it has to recharge like a phone, but you can have this thing working in the middle of the night and it's not going to get upset. It's not going to start asking for workers' comp or a 15-minute smoke break. This thing is going to get it done at much less of a cost, especially for a business, than hiring a human. So imagine you go to the Marriott and the housekeeping is a robot. That's where this is going to. They'll get a bunch of units in hospitality first, and that's how they'll run that. And a bunch of people will lose their jobs or be demoted to being in the laundry room or whatever the hell else they can do. But yeah, this is what we got, guys.
Neo, list of chores. You schedule a time that you want them done so that you can focus on what matters to you while your Neo does the rest. You can schedule chores by either talking to your Neo or using the app. The way it works is you schedule a time that works best for you, and then you create a list of chores. Whether it's something more specific, like watering the plants on Tuesdays, or something more general, like tidying the house, your Neo will get it done at the scheduled time. If there are any chores that your Neo hasn't learned how to do autonomously, you can use expert mode to have an expert from 1X supervise the session and provide corrective intervention to help Neo complete any task.
And program it to do new tasks. You know what? So somebody will be like, I need Neo to dig a hole about 6 feet deep, 3 feet wide in the backyard. But he doesn't have a digging program. Can we program him to dig? And then you call somebody and they upload the digging program into it and it starts digging. Yeah, this is a little creepy. Helpful, but creepy.
Anytime you're away from home and you want to see what your Neo's up to, you can open the app and see directly from Neo's point of view.
Oh my God. You know, people are going to start cussing out the robot through the app. The hell are you doing? You don't put the dishes back like that. Washing dishes? It's washing its own hands. What the hell is going on? And then goes and charges itself. All right, I'm done. I'm done. I want one, but I'm scared of it at the same time. Like, I would love something that could keep the house clean. You just program it and it can like really do the job. But I just see this could go bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like the making of a movie that we haven't been part of yet. But we've definitely all seen iRobot. Most people have also seen Terminator. All the other movies normally start with a friendly robot that turns on the people. So look out for it because they'll be doing tasks. They'll be doing DoorDash and shit. You can you can take the robot with you to do DoorDash. You can send it to drop off the food. Or you can keep it in the house, but it's all operated from your phone. So I guess the question is, does it have any limitations to what it will or will not do if you try to tell it to do? I'm sure it does, but you know what? I'm not really sure. Because they're going to want the user experience to be open so that people purchase it. So that's why it was dancing and stuff like that. This is okay. We're going to go back. We're going to get out of that one. I don't like that. At all. At all. I don't like that at all. I don't know about y'all, but I want one, but I don't want one. That's how I feel. The convenience would be great, but I feel like, especially if somebody can just remote control it and update it, if they hack the system that does that, then we're screwed. So, yeah, we're going to not do that one. All right, guys, we're into some nerdy stuff today. Always. Yeah, that kind of creeped me out with the robot. I'm not going to lie. Because I feel like there could be very bad things would happen if you give people the ability to program their own robot in their own house with their own ideas. Thing might start spitting out racist jargon. I don't know. I got my stomach just hurts thinking about it. Something's not right about that. But it's hitting the market this week, so rich people will probably get them first. See what happens with them. Then they'll probably make a cheaper version, that's only got like 3 fingers, 2 and then 1 thumb, and 1 eyeball in the front, a Cyclops looking one for the cheapos. We'll see. I really don't know about that. I feel like that's That's a danger. But nonetheless, go to this. All right, so some of y'all may have heard this week, there has been some talk about an international asteroid that has caused a skirmish. Now, this one's for the nerds. I found it interesting because they don't normally talk this about asteroids. But apparently this asteroid, they saw it back in June, July, and just thought it was a comet. And now because of certain things and certain features, they're not really sure it's a comet. They're starting to think that it may be piloted by some extraterrestrial life form. Now, yes, I know that sounds crazy. I'm just saying that's what they said. Okay? So we're going to check the video out together. And then y'all can say what you want. I just thought it was interesting. So bringing it to you. So if you hear something about an alien comet running through the solar system, what it's about. All right, let's.
Right now, something is happening in our solar system that's sending scientists scrambling for explanations. The interstellar object NASA's been tracking, 3I Atlas, is roughly the size of Manhattan and has been displaying several unusual movements and features which kind of defy typical behavior of comets. It's even catching the attention of some military analysts. So what does this mean for all of us here on Earth? And what can this mysterious object tell us about what's outside our own solar system? Let's ask physics professor at the City College of New York, and he's a New York Times bestselling author of Quantum Supremacy, Michio Kaku. So this mystery object has been added to the International Asteroid Warning Network. That's the first interstellar object ever to make that list. So I got to ask you, what the heck is 3I Atlas, and why the clouds of mystery around it? NASA's like tight-lipped.
Well, there's a split in the astronomical community. The majority faction says, what's all the fuss about? I mean, it's just a rock from outer space, and it's going to come through our solar system for the first time and then come whizzing back out again. It's the third known object from outside our solar system, so what's the fuss? Another faction, however, says, now, wait a minute. Perhaps this is a visitor, an intelligent visitor from another solar system, and perhaps this week we could have a test of it. That's right. This week, it turns out that the asteroid or comet will be whizzing around our sun, and if it picks up extra energy on its flyby, that would clinch it. That means there's extraterrestrial intelligence involved. So watch for it. On October 30th, starting then, we're going to track it to see whether it gets an extra boost of energy. If so, it means we are being visited.
Oh, so, okay, if it's not a giant rock, and it could be a sign of life out there, something's got to be steering it, right?
That's right. And as it goes around the sun, there's something called the Oberth effect. The Oberth effect says that if you were to whip around the sun, you would pick up extra energy in the process. So we're going to watch for it. The energy in must equal the energy out, according to the ordinary theory. But if that's not true, if there's more energy going out than in, it means that there's energy boost coming from whipping around the sun, and that requires intelligence. And so that's one acid test that we can make. Watch for it. Starting this week, we're going to begin to monitor and see whether or not it picks up extra energy as it whips around the sun.
All right, so what do you think? What do you think, Z? You think it's an actual alien ship running around out there, or just a rock floating funny and people are getting spooked? I don't know. I will say this, though. I think it's really selfish and vain for us as humankind to assume that in this vast set of galaxies that the creator would only put our debauchery as people as life form. Like, I hate to say it, but I feel like he could have done better, you know, because we're kind of out there. We do a lot of weird stuff, and you know, we're killing each other, and like the morals are all messed up. I would feel like the creator would have done a few different projects, and ours was just one of them. And if anybody else is moving towards technology in another place, it's not too far-fetched that they might have come up with a craft that could soar through the galaxy. I mean, shit, we can go up in the space. I'm still not sure about where they're landing stuff on, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the moon landing and all that. But the point is, we can shoot something up there. So if somebody else can do the same and they have better technology, they might have something floating through. So it's worth looking at. The reason why is because it's the first time that anything has made this list of stuff we need to look out for. So it's the first interstellar object that they've really paid this kind of attention to. Now, we all know that if this is something like an alien craft, we're really not going to be able to find out much about it. They're going to try to at least minimize whatever it is so that people don't panic and think that we got ET flying through. But I will say this. Like I said, I think it's a little vain for us to think that only human life and only Earth is the only place throughout millions and billions and trillions of basically infinity levels of galaxy. It's very vain for us to think that this is the only place that could have sustained some form of life. So, whether or not this thing is an extraterrestrial, that remains to be seen. But the point of saying that we're the only available life in the entire galaxy, it seems a little bit vain. I'm being honest. Like, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, come on, man. You think God or whichever creator couldn't have done this more than once? Maybe in some different ways. Maybe gave some extra features and some Superman type shit. I don't know. But anyway, let's let this guy finish talking. So for those of you that are stargazers, you might want to keep an eye on that.
So it's Wednesday, right? October 29th. I think it goes the closest point to the sun. Is that right?
That's right. That's the perihelion.
Okay.
And at that point, if it picks up extra energy, that's outside the ordinary bounds of the conservation of energy. So watch for it. As it whips around the sun, if it picks up extra energy, bingo. It means there's intelligent life that is guiding the motion of this object.
This is interesting. I love this stuff. So NASA is launching its Artemis 2 program in 2026, I think, sending crewed missions around the moon and then landing on the lunar surface. Let me ask you, Professor, when do you think that we might see some permanent bases on the moon? Should we? Do we know everything about the moon already or not? Certainly the dark side is different. And what about Mars? You think we'll ever set foot on Mars?
Well, that's a wish list of what we have for NASA. However, it's going to take time. For example, we've been talking about going to the moon for decades, and finally, it's going to come to pass. Within the next few years, we're going to launch not just a manned probe around the moon, we're going to land on the moon's surface itself. And
we already did that. We already did the moon. Maybe not. He seems to sound like it's the first time.
So this is all on the agenda for NASA in the coming years. And then after that, the next target is going to be Mars. But we'll wait and see. We've had so many setbacks, so many disappointments, but now we think we have the momentum to go on to a flyby around the moon, land on the moon, and then on to Mars.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. Shouts to Al Bond stopping in. Thank you for stopping in, man. We over here talking about the ET thing that might be coming. Because it could be bullshit, but it could be not bullshit. And if it's not bullshit, then what? Are they going to try to follow it back where it's going? Probably not. We'll just always know, hey, something came through here. We don't know what it was. That'll be the end of that story. So keep an eye out for it. I'll keep an eye out for it. Because I'm interested to know. I would love to have proof that something else exists. Because maybe it'll humble humankind a little. You know, the thought that we're the only life, intelligent life, thought that we're the only intelligent life throughout an entire series of galaxies and solar systems. It makes us kind of like I said, it's very vain. It's a very vain way of thinking when you understand how big the actual space is that you're talking about. So we're not that great, honestly, as a group. See the type of shit we do. So for us to think this is the best the creator could do, not biologically. The human body is amazing, what it does, and the systems, the central nervous system, that part is amazing. I'm talking about how we behave on a planet like what we do. We start drilling into shit, destroying stuff, and I don't think we would be the only intelligent life that could be in this entire galaxy. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I just think it's wrong to think that we're so good that there was just no way that could have been done better or again. Come on now. Might have been a big bang and everybody went everywhere. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Let's move on to our next purge. Now, what is this about? All right, I'm going to warn you, I don't know what the hell this one is. It says Tyrone goes home to the goofy. Now, be anything. That could be anything. Tyrone goes home to the goofy. Oh, it looks like Tyrone got into it with a Karen. Oh, this is a Karen clip. Okay. All right, let's do a Karen clip. This gentleman apparently was stopped by a drunk HOA Karen, or was approached by her entering his gated community. So I guess the guy is black and Karen is white, because Karens don't discriminate. They mess with everybody, to be honest with you. So just because there's a Karen involved doesn't mean that the other person has to be black. It could be anybody. I've seen Karen versus Karen at times. They both call it the man. You know? See what we got here. So Tyrone comes home to the goofy. Excellent.
Trying to get in?
I live here.
What?
I live here, man.
Who are you?
I don't need to tell you who I am.
No, who are you?
Man.
I'm on the board.
I don't care.
I don't care. You drive over here like a bat out of hell. You drive in, you drive out. Get in whatever you... Fuck you.
Well, damn. That escalated quickly. Jeez.
So ridiculous. We have dogs, we have people, and you don't even care.
Okay.
So disrespectful.
Have a good evening.
He just buzzed himself
white,
in.
Won't you?
Hold on, what did you say? What did she say? Want to be white, don't you? Hold on, let's run this back. Hold on.
Want to be white, won't you?
Getting home and driving to my neighborhood, the street to get into my neighborhood is very, very dark. And so I saw somebody kind of like jumping up and down and waving their hands as I was driving down the street. And it's I drive pretty slow. So I was like, why are they doing that? Like, why are they waving their hands so hard? So anyway, I went into my community, but I thought, man, Isaac, somebody could be having a medical emergency. Something could be wrong. If that was you, you would want somebody to go check on you. So I left my community. As soon as I got out the community, I was approached by this woman just yelling profanity at me. And so that's why I said, let me go home, turn right back into my community. And I said, let me put my camera out because I just want to make sure that I'm safe and record any exchange that I have with this person, because I don't know if they live there or not. They were not inside my community. So I just proceeded to record the conversation and then go home after that.
All right, well, it's on the board, okay? So, Isaac, you got to understand, she's on the board. She has been given a mandate to be nosy as hell. That's why she got on the board, so that she could act like this. Now, the truth did make a mention that she wasn't actually inside the community. So, maybe she doesn't even live there. Maybe she's just a drunk lady walking around being goofy and doesn't even live there. I'm not sure. And it doesn't seem like there's a follow-up to the story here. If there's any follow-up to the story. No. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it is what it is. It seems like this lady's being annoying, but we also don't know what time it is. where they're at, and whether or not the guy's black or not, I feel like this Karen would have just come at anybody who was driving around in a black truck, and it was dark. So I feel like she could be racist, but she just did this thing because she doesn't know any other way to be. She did say something about, you want to be white, don't you? I could have sworn I heard that from her. But you also got to watch out for these Karens with the animal print shirts, because they're a wild, savage group. And that's why you have to watch out for her. So if I was him, I wouldn't have rolled down the window and said nothing to her. As soon as she started talking weird, I'd have just rolled the window up and gone into my community and gone home. I would have been a Karen. I'd have called the police on her. There's some weird drunk lady out in front of my community, and y'all come check it out. That's what I would have done. But it's cool. It's cool. So, comment section basically goes into a bunch of Karen clips, other Karen. All right, so everybody hates rich people. All right, whatever, man. The bottom line is this. This woman...
I live here, man.
Who are you?
This woman probably didn't have a right to do it. And that's where the problem is. But she didn't attack him. She didn't try to hit him. Doesn't look like the police were involved. So this was actually a pretty mild Karen situation. Not one we need to be so worried about. But I did hear, Tyrone came home to the goofiness, so I had to see what was going on. But yeah, this lady, she's harmless. She's harmless. She's not one of the dangerous Karens. She's an annoying Karen. The dangerous Karens, the police would have been sitting there already with her, and she would have told them a story about how he was peeking in her house when she got out the shower. That's the dangerous Karens. They'll come up with a whole story, and they believe it. And they'll tell somebody else that story, so that person believes it. Next thing you know, you're going to jail. So, nonetheless, I'm glad the guy Isaac was okay. He went to social media to talk about this. So, for those that like doxing people, if you want, go ahead and dox this lady. And, I don't think she'll get fired or anything for it. Get fired for that damn leopard print t-shirt she got on. That's definitely a fireable offense right there. But nonetheless, I think this was a mild Karen. Not as up. Okay. Now let's have a little fun. You guys may or may not know about the recent strikes on cartel boats. Let me explain this. Explain what's going on. So the United States military has decided to stop drug trafficking by blowing up suspected drug trafficking boats. When I first saw this a couple of weeks ago, I said, you can only do that so much before somebody's going to say, hey, are you even allowed to do that? Well, that's happened now. So now the Congress and whomever else, they're basically saying we can't do that if we haven't declared war on either the cartel or the country. But I thought that by designating a group as a terrorist organization, kind of like the same thing. Apparently not. So there's a lot of back and forth about how people feel when it comes to these strikes that are going on. Some people feel like it's not following due process because it's making the U.S. military judge, jury, and executioner without allowing the person to even have a day in court. They're just on a boat, boomed real quick. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to go over this clip. It's like 2 clips real quick. We're just going to have a quick discussion about it because I know how I feel about it. I think they should be doing more like the Coast Guard stopping people in the boats. They have the same thing that's shooting at them. That's your visual. And then you direct the actual forces that are on the water to those people. But then there's always the safety issue of if the guys in the drug boat have guns, they start shooting at our Coast Guard or our military, it might be safer to just blow them up from out of the sky because you don't worry about anybody getting shot going to battle with them. So it's an interesting discussion. We're going to see what they say, okay?
2 new U.S. military boat strikes within the span of one day, marking the 9th one in the Trump administration's fight against alleged narco trafficking.
NBC 6's Valerie Ryan breaks down this new information and what the president is now warning could come next. Valerie.
Juwan, Trina, good evening. Well, we are learning that there's been 2 different strikes on boats by the U.S. military within the past 24 hours in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. And President Trump is saying that if this alleged narco trafficking continues, well, similar military action could happen on land.
This is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year. These drugs coming in.
2 U.S. military strikes on boats in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, a first since the hits began last month. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says U.S. intelligence believes.
Yeah, they are just showing these joints. These are all different boats that have gotten blown up. If y'all haven't been watching the news, they have been doing this for a while. And I didn't really see anybody asking any questions like, hey, are you supposed to be doing that? They just kind of let it happen. So now we're at almost 10 of these happening. Now people are saying, I think we're supposed to get a sign off on this. You know, rules of engagement, something. You're just blowing stuff out the sky. We don't know what's in the boat. And then what happens to all the stuff that's in the boat? Does it just end up in the water, or they go get it, or how does that work? I don't know.
Both were smuggling narcotics, comparing the alleged narco terrorists to al-Qaeda, saying in a post on X, "We will find them and kill them until the threat to the American people is extinguished." One strike Wednesday, the defense secretary says, killed 3 people, while this video posted on X shows another U.S. strike that happened Tuesday. 2 people on board were killed.
These are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
This follows 2 other recent strikes, one off the coast of Venezuela, which the president called a great honor after destroying what he says was a very large drug trafficking submarine believed to be headed for the U.S. While on
They got drug subs now? They got submarine drugs? So it's not just the speedboats anymore. They've come up with submersibles, and they traffic them that way. That is, but I mean, what do we want them to do instead of what they're doing is the question. But listen to it.
On Sunday, the Secretary of Defense posted this of a boat strike in the Caribbean. Officials claim it was linked to the ELN, or the National Liberation Army. This stirring tension between President Trump and Gustavo Petro, the Colombian president. Trump calling Petro a, quote, illegal drug dealer. Petro responding, calling the president ignorant and rude, saying his attack killed a fisherman. But Trump says the war on drugs will not be tolerated, threatening to cut funds to Colombia and impose tariffs.
They are a drug manufacturing machine, Colombia.
In a social media post, the president of Colombia says he will defend himself legally against these accusations and will continue to stand against these killings. Nicolas Maduro says his country stands with Colombia.
Cualquier fuerza militar del mundo sabe el poder de los islas.
Maduro says any military in the world knows the power of Russian-made air missiles, adding Venezuela has no fewer than 5,000 of those missiles to ensure peace in the Caribbean.
Yeah, but they sure as hell ain't shooting down nothing U.S. Don't throw out no empty threats. Don't do that. Not with this guy in the damn White House. Don't throw out no empty threat. If you try and do something, you want to work on it, then you might as well just do it. You could, if you think something is floating over your airspace and you shoot it down with your so-called missiles that you're saying that you have, we can't be upset. It's flying over your airspace. So don't talk about it, be about it. Don't do that. Over here talking about what you got. You ain't, not with Trump sitting there. He'll show you the mother of all bombs on a Saturday afternoon as a gag at a children's party. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't do that. No, that wasn't smart.
While Trump says these attacks in international waters are justified.
We have legal authority, right? We're allowed to do that.
And since these attacks began last month, 34 people have died. But after learning about this most recent strike that happened today, well, that death toll number is now up to 37. In Miami tonight, Valerie Ryan, NBC 6 News.
That's like
to the ELN, or the
when Arnold Schwarzenegger did the what's that movie he did? True Lies, right? And he had to tell his wife that he was like a spy or whatever. And she was like, did you kill anybody? And he was like, yes, but they were all bad. So that's kind of what they're saying here. Yes, we took out 40 people. One of them happened to be a fisherman. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't also trafficking drugs. He might have known the routes really well and could have been a navigator. But out of 40 people, if all you can do is identify one, that might have been a mistake. It sounds like Trump and them are on to something. I hate to say it. It is pretty brutal, though, that they're just showing it on TV. There's a boat skipping across the water and then, foul! That joint's just problem eliminated. And we're so desensitized to shit like that by now. We can look at it like, you know, what was that? Like Battleship. So if these people are narco terrorists and they are trafficking fentanyl and cocaine and heroin and those narcotics over here to the United States, I'm not saying that we should be blowing them out the sky. I'm just saying I can see why they're blowing them out. Me personally, that wouldn't be my way of handling it, at least not at first. But it's a tough debate, especially if they're finding drugs. And out of 40 people, they could only come up with one that they were saying was not some type of drug dealer. Just the fish. Well, one of them was a fisherman. What about the other 39? What were they? So if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. Don't just bring up the one fisherman who probably was there trying to make a couple extra dollars with the cartel guys. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe he was a hostage. I don't know, but nobody reported the damn hostage. So sorry if that was collateral damage. But I feel how I feel about it. It is what it is. Let's see how other people feel. See what this one's. All right, so lawmakers are blasting Trump over this whole thing.
This morning.
Oh, we're not going to play. But I just want y'all to see where, you know, the opposite end of it. The last group, they just seem to be questioning, well, is it okay, is it not? They didn't really side on a particular opinion. This group definitely
And questions are growing louder from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle about President Trump's strikes on what he says are drug boats, with 8 strikes in the Caribbean and now 2 in the Pacific. And as the administration now dispatches an aircraft carrier to Latin America, lawmakers are pressing for more information, from the intelligence used to target the boats to the change in protocol from what used to be a Coast Guard duty to why they haven't been asked for approval. And joining us now to discuss this and more, MSNBC national security reporter David Rode, MSNBC senior Capitol Hill reporter Ali Vitale, and former commander of the U.S. Southern Command, retired General Barry McCaffrey. Ali, these strikes are beginning to get serious pushback on the Hill, including from some Republicans. What are they saying?
They're concerned about the lack of input that they have here, as well as when the president starts talking about the potential to make these more than just the strikes that we've seen on sea, but now to bring them potentially to land. That's something.
Special shouts to IMZ. I do appreciate you supporting the show, because I know the algorithm is pissed at me right now, but we do not stop for the algo. We continue so that this information is embedded in the internet for later reference. Shouts to Curtis J for jumping in chat over there. But then go Trump. So that seems to be one of the sentiments as well. People are like, hey, man, go Trump. If you want to blow people up who are bringing drugs over here, unless they come to us and say it was a damn, dolphin viewing boat that y'all blew up, I think it's going to be tough to make the argument that this is not to some degree necessary. You don't want the drugs over here, and the president has decided to just blow them up. So, some people aren't into that kind of violence. Me personally, I'm like, you could have done it differently, but I understand why you did it that way. Problem eliminated. We ain't got to go through putting these people in jail and 6 years before they see a judge and feeding them 3 hots in the cot. Nope. Foul! Right in the middle of the water. They're part of the ocean now. You belong to the sea.
That the president has only floated, but it started Congress talking about the idea of who has the ability to authorize that kind of force. And if it becomes a larger ground war, what role should Congress be playing? Should they be consulted? I mean, listen to what some of these lawmakers have been saying in recent days, Anna.
The administration needs to give insight into Congress. That's part of it. If this was happening with this level of insight under the Biden administration, I'd be apoplectic.
The White House and the Department of Defense could not give.
Yo, he looks like Yoda. Couldn't he look like Yoda? Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, a.k.a. Mark Yoda.
Give us a logical explanation on how this is legal. They were tying themselves in knots trying to explain this.
I've been invited to no briefing, but a briefing is not enough to overcome the Constitution. The Constitution says that when you go to war, Congress has to vote on it. I would call them extrajudicial killings.
If this president feels that they're doing something illegally, then he should be using the Coast Guard. If there's an act of war, then you use our military. And then you come and talk to us first. But this is murder. It's sanctioned murder.
Well, hold on a second. You said the Coast Guard and you said the military. That's what he's using. They're not trying to board the ships. They're just, wow, you know what I'm saying? There's a problem identified, problem solved. I hate to say it that way. I don't want to sound like I don't care about the human life. But this is a very interesting debate because these are not the good guys that they're blowing up. Like I said, we're not talking about a fishing boat or somebody that went out to do some whale viewing or something like that. No, because if it was, we would have definitely heard about that. They would have gave Trump they would have scathed him for that. If they found it was like some foreigners on a sightseeing trip and they blew the boat up. So obviously that's not what they're doing. They must have some pretty good intel. And the stuff that they're firing off at is the stuff that they need to be firing off at. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad because I know if you let them come over here and they are trafficking drugs, then you got to put them in jail for who knows how long, possibly extradite them back to their country if necessary. It's just a lot of taxpayer money. So you know what? Taxpayer money made that rocket that you shot off to, so we use that solution as well. Anyway.
So there are questions about the legality, the morality, the ethics behind what the administration is using to make these decisions in the first place. But then, of course, there's also the larger theme that those of us who follow Congress have been following the entirety of this year, which is the ways in which Congress is typically ceding spaces, whether it's on appropriations or now authorizing various military strikes, the way that they're ceding that space to the president. In this case, at least, we're hearing a little bit more bipartisan outcry, but we'll see if it actually amounts to any kind of pressure that the administration would then have to bring Congress in on this. So far, it doesn't seem like that's happening.
I mean, there's been a blatant lack of transparency and also ability to verify what they've been saying in terms of who's been targeting and what kind of information is backing up why they believe that these people are doing X, Y, or Z. David,
man, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that because you know good and damn well if he blew up a fishing boat with a bunch of tourists, somebody would have told y'all that and y'all would have been running with that. So no, we're not going to do that. We don't really know what it is. Well, we know what it isn't because if it was that, Venezuela, Colombia, whoever would be up in arms talking about they killed innocent children and fishermen and all types of stuff on a boat that was just out there fishing and doing some sightseeing. So no, we're not going to play this game like they don't know what the boats are doing. This is good intel, obviously. So if the problem is the legality of who gets to make the call to do so, may I remind you, for those that don't know, the president is also the commander-in-chief, meaning he leads the freaking military. That's why he can send the military to Chicago or send the military to these other states when he thinks that there's an emergency. He has the freedom in his position to do so. Whether or not I agree with it, this is not what we're talking about. What I'm saying is stop with the bullshit about whether or not he can, he cannot. If he couldn't, it wouldn't be happening. If he was blowing up tourists, this would not be going on. So let's just be real about it. These are obviously drug boats. And yeah, if Congress wants to be notified that this is going to happen, to some degree, the military has to keep some things secret until they've already happened because they don't want people leaking the information out. So no, maybe they're not going to tell Congress every time they're going to blow up a drug boat. Congress some of them would vote against it and then take 6 months to have another vote. Meanwhile, that boat has transported kilos and killed thousands. So like I said, I personally would handle it differently, but I definitely understand why it's being handled the way it is. And I need these news people and these mainstream media people to stop asking the wrong question. Y'all are asking questions about legality. Just listen. He's the damn commander-in-chief. And if he was asking the military to do some shit the military couldn't do, guess what? The military wouldn't do it. The Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of War, whoever would come up and say, yeah, we can't do that. Even though they're allies with Trump. Nobody wants to be, sitting in a freaking court-martial for war crimes if they can avoid it. So what I'm saying to you is he's got the best lawyers that are reading over this shit and saying, yes, you can. And then he goes ahead and does it. And if you come back later saying, can he do this? Well, he just did it. So the question ain't whether or not he can do it. I guess the question is, can he keep doing it? Because he's already done it 10 times. So if you haven't stopped it by 10 times, you need to get with the damn program. Maybe it's helping. Go investigate. You want to investigate? Investigate. Call Venezuela, find out who was on the boat. But you already know who was on the boat. Because if it was a bunch of kids and women and tourists and shit, we would have heard about it. It would have been international news. So it's not that. These guys are exactly what the president is saying that they are. And whoever's giving them the intel is giving him good intel. So let's just be honest. Now they're talking about a boots on the ground war. We don't need a boots on the ground war over this. You know why? The issue is the transportation of drugs here. So if you keep that shit over there, nobody's going over there. It's when you're on the way over here. We know you're coming over here, and we don't want you to bring it over here, and that's where the problem happens. So no, the president is not going to have the U.S. military go into Venezuela to start fighting against the cartels, at least not at this point. Right now, he's using the law to his own advantage because he knows over international waters, there's some differences in the rules. And if you can prove these guys are bringing kilos of drugs over here, it's going to be a tough debate to say that you can't stop them when they're coming to your country. So I'm going to let these folks keep talking, but I don't like the fact that they're like, well, why would the president be able to do this? Because he's the damn president. That's the office. Commander-in-chief. Does it sound right? Commander of the military in chief. Top dog. So if the top dog is saying, I want to blow up these boats, can we blow them up? Can we be sure that these are drug boats? And the military intel says, yeah, we sure those are drug boats. End of that story.
I've seen 10 strikes in recent months. What do we know about the latest one?
The really unusual ones were two that were off the coast of Colombia. This all began as an effort to pressure Venezuela, which is actually a small player in the drug flow of the United States. There was a recent one in the Caribbean as well. And I think the question here, and General McCaffrey can answer this better than I can, is how do you win a war on drug trafficking? Like, what's your definition of success? I spent a lot of time in Afghanistan, and you wonder about getting into sort of a whack-a-mole situation where you're taking out these boats, and does it really stop what's happening in terms of the flow of drugs? And then the second issue is this an effort to sort of pressure people around Maduro, the authoritarian leader of Venezuela, to turn on him and force him from power. That critics have said is regime change, and that's a big change from what President Trump campaigned on. But the stakes of military action, wherever they are in the world, by the United States are very large. So the question is, where does this lead? And again, how do you win if you're trying to counter drug trafficking?
So, General, given, as we reported, more military assets are being deployed to the region, including some 10,000 military personnel. Now you have the aircraft carrier Gerald R4 going. What does that signal to you about the plans, where things are, and what questions do you have about this operation?
Well, look, the problem is real. There has been a massive increase in cocaine production in Colombia in particular under this leftist former ELN guerrilla, President Petro. Venezuela is a transit country. Maduro and 14 of his associates are under indictment for essentially being part of an ongoing government link with criminals.
Shouts to Jesus Crust in the chat there. Those 40, thanks for stopping in. I had to pause it here for a second because, like I said, this is a debate that you cannot win on either side because there's correct statements on both sides. There's the morality of just randomly taking out people when you're not technically at war with their country. There's that side of it. Then there's the morality side of, let's be honest, these drugs do kill American people once they get here. So it's like, the question of, are we stopping anything? You have to be. If you're blowing up kilos, it's messing up the pipeline to some degree. It may not cut it off entirely because there's obviously plenty of this going on. But what I'm saying is it may deter some from getting involved in it. It may deter some people who might rent their boats out for it, like that fisherman. They might not want to help out the cartels anymore. Like there's going to be some effect. Okay? What that effect is going to be, you can't say that it won't be less drugs in America because these are drugs and they're not making it. Now, granted, they can make more and send more, but that boat didn't make it. So if you take 10 boats out that are holding kilos in a month, you take 10 of them out in a month, I guarantee that has interrupted some pipeline somewhere. I don't know because I'm not part of that culture, but I know if there's no supply, I mean, I'm not going to say the demand goes away, but if there's no supply, then people aren't ODing. So maybe it is barbaric, Jesus Christ. It's very barbaric, but it's one of those, like I said, you have to deal with the debate on both sides has valid points. Because you could send the Coast Guard in there and they try to board the boat, but those guys are probably heavily armed, and now you got people shooting at the Coast Guard. So there's more of a chance of our American human casualties if they do it differently. Like I said, it's an interesting debate.
Criminal cartels. And the outcome of this is probably 30,000 Americans a year or so are dying from cocaine overdose. Now, having said that, as David points out, how do you deal with this problem? We're assembling in the Caribbean the most sophisticated warfighting capability the United States has, particularly the carrier Roosevelt, with a very advanced high-tech capability to do pinpoint massive air attack against heavily defended areas. But it's sort of like a sledgehammer trying to kill a gnat. If you want to reduce cocaine production in Colombia, not Venezuela, you have to resume aerial fumigation and cut down on the coca crops, which have grown massively. So the question
that
is,
requires somebody going over there.
Conduct further ground and air combat operations against Venezuela and Colombia. No good will come of it. It's not only of dubious or non-existent legality, it just isn't going to work.
Allie, are lawmakers getting briefed at all on these strikes?
No, and I mean, you heard from Senator Paul there the fact that he hasn't been briefed, but also that a briefing wouldn't be enough, because the central concern here is that if this turns into a larger war effort, the authorization will not have gone through Congress. Now, presidents have taken advantage of this leeway before. They've tried to play in the gray space, but this is yet another example of the way that this particular White House has tried to sort of cut Congress out of the process. We talked about appropriations earlier with pocket rescissions from the White House. That's just one example, but this is yet another one. And I would even broaden it out further. We know that the Pentagon in recent weeks has tried to clamp down on the ways that Defense Department officials interact with the Hill, basically saying that they need to clear information with the DOD before they bring it over to Capitol Hill. But oversight is the central function of the Congress, especially over an entity like the Pentagon that gets so many hundreds of billions of dollars of federal government money. It's an open question now of how good those briefings are going to be. But I mean, we used to cover briefings all the time. And I even asked one of the members on the House Intel Committee recently, well, have you guys been briefed on, for example, the ceasefire deal in Israel? What's going on behind the scenes there? And they said, no, we haven't been briefed on that or much of anything else recently. And I think it does go to show there's such a chilling in the communication between various entities of the administration and Capitol Hill.
Interesting. Jesus Christ. You are correct. It is lazy and barbaric. And resources being placed in the way of stopping the boats on the water might be, like I said, it could become a situation where they start shooting at the guys boarding the boat and we end up losing soldiers and Coast Guard members. And then that'll be a problem. So it's kind of like there's no 100% good way of dealing with this problem, especially not considering how big it's gotten. But the other gentleman that was talking makes an interesting point. He's like, unless you're going to stop the production of these things, then you're just playing whack-a-mole with boats as they come across the water. You're not going to catch them all, and the drug trafficking will just continue. You'll blow up some people in the process, but it won't stop anything, unless you start doing aerial operations where you're dropping poisons on the plants and you go in there chopping down crops and doing all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, it really does have a catch-22 effect to it, because it's like, we don't want the drugs here. Most of us do not want fentanyl and heroin and stuff running rampant in the streets and killing off people. We don't want that. Even if you don't do those drugs, you don't want that to be a thing, right? So we don't have the ability to stop things coming in. So we're leaving it up to the government and the military to deal with it. This happens to be the way they chose to deal with it. So it's kind of like, at this point, we're 10 ships in. So either they're going to stop doing it totally, or this is just going to be the normalized way that they handle it. We'll just get a story every week of some new boat they done blown up. At first, I remember I was seeing a lot of busts. I know Florida did one, and we're talking like the biggest drug bust ever, but this was them, the Coast Guard, stopping the boats. I guess they got tired of doing that and said, let's just start blowing them up. Because the Coast Guard was doing that at first. They really were. And I guess at some point somebody said, you know what, instead of sending the Coast Guard out there, since we have such good intel, let's just blow the boat up. That way we don't have to take all the evidence in. We don't have to do anything. It's lazy work, like you said. So we can agree that it is lazy. The problem is you and I, watching the show and so forth, we have no say-so in it at all. I know that's tough to hear, but I can't call Trump and say, hey, no more of that. I can't call up Pete Hegseth and say, hey, Pete, you got a minute? Let's not do that no more. So at this point, this is what they're doing. So unless there's a legality that comes up to stop it, I hate to say it this way, but get used to it. It's sad because it is barbaric. But this is where we are. It's 2025. This is the Futurama. This is the craziness. Welcome to it. If you haven't realized, you're in it. You're in it. So nonetheless, there seems to be, like I said, there's some back and forth about the legality of it, but nobody has come forward and said that any of the people that were, and we'll call it, any of the people that were murdered were stand-up folks, other than this possible fisherman who we're not sure if he rented his boat out. So if we're not going to come to bat for Americans and the things that Americans need first, I'm not going to bat for nobody trafficking. I'll go to bat for somebody here, you know, the children who are struggling in America or whatever, the education system. I'll go to bat for that kind of stuff. But I can't go to bat for that. Not when we got all this going on over here. I don't like to see it, so I appreciate if they'd stop showing that shit every week. But now, after they got us through the Charlie Kirk thing, we can pretty much watch anything now. And we are totally desensitized. So let's see what the last piece. This was from Pete Hegseth himself. Uh-oh. Let's see what Pete said. I think this is just a post. All right, so he was just saying what they did. Department of War carried out kinetic strikes on 4 vessels operated by designated terrorist organizations, trafficking narcotics and so 14 people. And see, that's the thing. Nobody survives the shit. Like, they don't just disable the boat. They send everybody to meet their maker. And I think that's where the problem is. Like this one, they got 2 boats next to each other. And then the U.S. military says, nah, that's nothing. So nonetheless, Pete Hegseth is touting this. And oh, there was a survivor? I just said nobody survived. Hold on. All right, so somebody survived, but they needed to initiate search and rescue in the middle of the ocean. They survived the explosion. They didn't survive that ocean. All right, well, it looks like Pete Hegseth is not backing off at all, guys. This is from yesterday. So if we have an issue with it, I don't think we're going to get any relief from that. Not going to be like that. Okay. So I will say this, and then I'm going to move into the next piece. Is we can't fix that problem. We can't. The U.S. government has made a decision and utilized the intelligence they have. And this is the way that they're going to deal with it. So I'm sorry to report that to you, but there is nothing you can do to stop Trump administration and the Secretary of War from blowing these boats up. They're 10 boats in at this point, and we just now saying something. Just get used to it. Sucks. All right, so let's hit our last segment here. let's hit our last segment here, which we have to hit because it's still going on. Now, last week when I was doing the story about this government shutdown, I honestly assumed that by now the shit would be over with. I'm going for November 1st, you know, when everybody's wilding out, or so they think they're going to wild out. But I think we need to, as the American public, okay, we need to be in one place here. Understand that while this is all going on, Congress is still getting paid. It's not Congress that's going to feel the pressure. And because of that, there has been a push for suspending the pay of Congress during the shutdown. We're going to get to that in one second. So we're gonna listen to Speaker Mike Johnson. Okay, and the reason why I got to bring this clip up is because I've been confused most of the time. Because if I go and watch the news, I'm seeing two sides of the same thing. I'm seeing one side blame the other side, and the other side blame the other side. And at the end of it, I'm not really sure who's responsible for it, but I do know y'all still getting paid. So, and y'all all still getting paid. So it puts y'all in one boat for me. That's all I'm saying. Some people are like, oh, it's a Democrat shutdown, it's a Republican shutdown. No, it's a government shutdown, and they need to get that shit together. So let's go into this pain versus pressure politics that Mike Johnson is going to so eloquently explain to us as to why this shutdown has to continue. It's ridiculous. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Pain versus pressure politics.
So it brought you a little visual aid here to just remind everybody what the simple facts are. 4 simple facts here. The Democrats are required to open the government. They keep saying Republicans are in charge of government. We aren't, not in the Senate. 60 votes control the Senate, not a bare majority. And so point number 1, Democrat votes are required to open the government. Point number 2, they refuse to do it. They have now voted 12 times to keep the government closed. And they'll have another chance today or tomorrow, maybe multiple times this week, and we'll see what they do. Now, the third point is very important because they've been trying to confuse the American people. They've tried to say this is a fight about health care or this or that or any other thing. And it's very simple. They put this on paper. They made this their demand in writing in the record of the Senate, and it has not changed. These are just 4 subpoints there under fact number 3, but there's many more. But among the things they're demanding, this is what the Democrats in the Senate are demanding to reopen the government. They want to give $200 billion in health benefits to illegal aliens and non-citizens, paid for by U.S. taxpayers. That is in their proposal. They want billions in wasteful programs to be returned to foreign countries. So we stopped these things. They want to turn it all back on. They're demanding that we do all that to get the government open for hardworking Americans again. They want to give $500 million to left-leaning news organizations, and they want to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. We will not do those things. And they know that very well. Which leads us to point number 4. The Democrats have now openly admitted, and you all had to cover it last week, that they're using the pain of the American people as their leverage. That was the number 2 ranked Democrat in the House. The Democrat, the minority whip, who said that, acknowledged it in an interview, that this is leverage. And Chuck Schumer himself boasted that every day of the shutdown gets better for us. That's his now infamous quote that he wishes he had not said out loud. But you know what they're doing and why. Why are they demanding these things? Why is point number 3 so essential to them? Why would they do this? Because it's unprecedented, as we've noticed, and reminded you all, they voted for CRs every time it was possible in their lives, as recently as March of this year. But they're doing it to appease their far-left Marxist base. That's the headline. That's why. That's why we're all in this mess. That's why the American people are suffering pain, because the Democrats are more afraid of the Marxist in their base than they are of hardworking Americans. See, they've made an evaluation that they have to appease the Marxist base, that they're so concerned that they'll lose their jobs if they don't appease the far left in their party. And they sat in a back room and they made the calculation that they would rather shut the government down and impose all this pain on the American people because they believe the Marxists, the far left in the base, are more active than hardworking Americans, people who go vote. And so they made the calculation that it's worth it to them. Every day gets better for us. We'll use the pain as leverage. For what? To prove to the far left base that they won't give in, that they'll fight Trump and fight the Republicans. What are they fighting? It's a clean CR. It's the same level of funding that they have voted for as recently as earlier this year. They are Biden-level policies and spending. This is not some Republican wish list. We don't have any of our priorities in this at all. It's the Democrats' own product. But they have decided to flip the script this time because they were getting too much heat from the far left.
All right, so as you can hear, Speaker Mike Johnson had a lot to say. And like I said, I've been following this thing from the beginning. But I also wanted to, I got to give everybody an opportunity to speak. Because I don't understand why we can't just make adjustments. I don't understand why the states won't cover their own SNAP benefits for a month when they've got millions and billions of dollars in reserves. They don't necessarily have to wait for the federal government. They can utilize emergency funds. FEMA can be used. There are so many ways that some of the hardships that are being felt, like the food thing for certain people, can be mitigated. Now, the federal government laying people off, can't do much with that. Because if you don't have any money to pay the people, then the people can't work. But as far as food and SNAP benefits and health care and all that, we don't need to drop millions of people off of health care. It doesn't make sense. So I was definitely, I don't want to say I was on the fence. I just didn't want to believe anybody because I could tell that both sides will lie whenever it's necessary to prove their point and to get their narrative going, right? So it was hard for me to even understand what the hell the beef was really about because I don't know if they're lying or not. Are you lying about the fact that we're trying to give $200 billion for health care for illegal migrants and that's part of this? If that's true, that's not America first, and that's problematic. But if that's untrue, then why are you telling me that and making me think that it's to be true? That's what I'm saying. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. I think Zach C. in the chat has it right. The only reason why the Democratic Party wants all of that extra stuff is because that's how they were laundering the money and putting it in their pockets before. That's how shit like USAID and all of that we've all uncovered. We've all seen these stories. I had it on this podcast. We know that there's some BS. And we know that a lot of people use slush funds and fake umbrella companies and were investing in companies that were like subdivisions of other companies that they own. This is Congress people. So, and it wasn't just on one side. So let's be honest about that. It wasn't just on one side, but it definitely leaned more heavily when it came to the foreign aid that was being touted as something that it wasn't. Now, everybody down there be doing insider trading. Don't get that twisted. But the foreign aid going into these small companies that didn't really exist or were connected directly to people like Nancy Pelosi and shit like that, that stuff was definitely suspect. So I would imagine that some of this money would affect them because they were messing around with it. Doge got all into it. They dug all up in their ass at Doge. And then they told us none of it ever happened. After Doge said, well, we found this and we found that. Then they came back and said, oh, no, Doge didn't do anything. And then Doge disappeared, or at least Elon did. And we haven't heard nothing from Doge since. And I damn sure didn't get that $5,000 check they was talking about. But I'm not going to harp on that because I didn't really believe it was going to happen. So. So nonetheless, I feel what you're saying there, Curtis J. Because as a podcaster, I hate to speak on things and I don't have full context. And it's tough to believe a lot of these congressional members because they be lying. They be lying a lot. So sometimes they'll say something and it'll get you all riled up and you think you know something. And then somebody will come back with some additional information, fill in the blind spot for you and be like, oh, shoot, I was believing this. That wasn't even the case. Well, at this point, it sounds like the shutdown is being used as leverage. by one side. But I have seen in the last 2 weeks, Republican Congress or Republican members of Congress work towards funding things that weren't going to be funded. The military got paid. Didn't the military get paid? The military got paid. So at this point, it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a Democrat shutdown, but it's starting to look like that. It really is starting to look like that. And it took me a couple of weeks to say, all right, I can't keep going against the fact that I'm only seeing this way after all of this time. But this next piece is what I really think everybody needs to get. This is Senator Rick Scott jumps on there. He says that he thinks they should suspend all of the paychecks of Congress during a government shutdown, saying if we shouldn't get paid if we don't do our job. So let's listen to his quick clip here. Let me know if you agree with Senator Rick Scott.
If you didn't do your job in business, you didn't get paid. You don't show up and do your job, you don't get paid. Why are we getting paid? We shouldn't get paid if we don't do our job. We need to figure out how to work together to get our budgets done. It's as simple as that.
So you're going to offer legislation to not get paid during shutdowns?
Absolutely. I already have a bill. We've got a bill that we don't get paid during the shutdown. Ron Johnson's got a bill that will never have shutdowns. That should pass also. But on top of that, what are the Democrats doing? This is a clean resolution. All we're doing is keeping the funding. Actually, the funding is too high. It's still the Biden funding. But I don't want to shut down government, so I support it. But the Democrats, they want to shut down for whatever reason. How is this good for the country? Nobody wins with a shutdown.
He makes a good point. He makes a very good point. And I'm all for that. I agree. I agree that Congress, all of them, if you're part of the government, you shouldn't be getting paid either if the government is shut down. Most of y'all have really nice salaries too. I don't even know why that's a thing. That shouldn't even have been a thing. If the government shut down, then, and y'all are the ones that are deciding whether or not it's going to open back up, you should definitely be impacted by the shutdown when it comes to your paycheck. I only think that's fair. I think that's fair. So I don't really know who Rick Scott is. Like, I don't follow him and stuff like that, but I don't know if he said some other crazy shit previously that y'all don't like, but this point he's making, I like. And I think that more people need to get behind that. Maybe we would get some results if we actually forced our legislators to do what the hell we voted them in to do, which is govern some shit. When the government is shut down, you're not governing nothing. So you should not get paid. That sounds so simple, but for some reason, every time the government gets shut down, it's the everyday average working person at the government that's the first to go. And that's really that keeps the persons that keep the thing moving. The ones you don't see. The people we see on TV are just, like characters. But the ones that we don't see, that's who really keeps the government going. And that's the ones who are getting fired. And that's the ones who don't have paychecks right now. But wrapped into that group is a bunch of people that have jobs that weren't even well justified. Just got a federal job, don't even do shit. There's those people too. I get it. Tough. You're going to have to go through and figure that out. But in the meantime, the people that are doing their jobs and working for the American people, the freaking air traffic controllers and stuff like that, we got to take care of them. Okay? Take care of the military. Take care of the air traffic controllers. All the Congress people should sacrifice their salaries. Take care of those other things that make America and the government actually move. They would get a lot of respect from me. Just like Trump not taking the salary from being the president, I respected that. I don't like everything that Donald Trump has to say or things he has to do, but that action, I respected that. He said, I don't even need your money. Send it to some other organization that we need to support at $400,000. Support a nonprofit with it. So anyway, let me bring it back to my full screen. I'm gonna get up out of here, okay? Hold on. All right, guys, so here we are. We're living in our modern day Futurama, except we don't have the cool spaceships yet. We might have one floating around. It's not ours, though. Somebody else got a cool spaceship. And we've already covered a bunch today. Think about where we are. Think about it. We got robots replacing workers by the thousand. Not just one. Hundreds of thousands of jobs disappearing just like this from week to week. Nobody's stopping it. Because we have affordable automation hitting the market. Then we have that affordable robot that people are going to start taking home. Like we're, you know, so you don't have to clean, so you can just be lazy and eat McDonald's and stuff, and you can have the robot work. AI is doing the work. You got a physical robot in the house doing the work. I mean, it's like we're watching it. This is it. This is it. I told you October was going to be the point of no return. And here we are. And it's just progressively getting worse. So we have a government that might finally face some consequences. That's different. I would love to see that. I would love to see Congress not get a paycheck during a shutdown. Make the rest of us feel like they're part of the population. Because they're like above the law at that point. You work for the government shut down, but y'all the only ones getting paid. And you're supposed to be keeping the government open. Where's your sense of urgency if you're still getting paid? Anyway. So this is the future, but it's not tomorrow's future. It is not next year's future. It is the right now future. And we have stepped far enough away from we've floated far enough away from the shore that we can't see the land behind us, and ain't no way we could go back. The only way through this is forward. The only way through this is through this. So do we accept our own demise as inevitable? Or do we step up and grab this thing by the reins? And that includes grabbing our congressional personnel and giving them a wake-up call too. Because the U.S., we don't deserve this shit. We work hard, man. Don't nobody need the government shut down and SNAP benefits lose. Look, man, we just going to work every day. We don't have nothing to do with that. And it seems like every time we look up, American people are the ones suffering the most. And they're the ones working the hardest out of the group. Middle-class Americans is who I'm talking about. They get hit hardest with the taxes. They have the toughest time getting real assistance because they make too much for the federal help, and they don't make enough to really flourish. It's a horrible scene, man. But this is our now. This is our now. And I don't have all the answers. I don't. I just bring it to y'all so we can discuss it and stay focused. Because they give us a lot of other stuff that takes us out of the focus of what's actually happening from day to day that actually is affecting us. And this is affecting us. Come November 1st, I've heard people say they're going to start looting and all types of stuff. I would say don't do that. Because then you're going to end up in jail, and that definitely doesn't help your plight. But if you get hungry enough, just know most areas have certain resources. Food pantries, soup kitchens, or you can just go to a friend's house that got a little something extra for you. But breaking into stores and all that, that's going against the whole point. So if you're one of those people that's contemplating that, please stop doing that. I don't want to see you get hurt or put in nobody's jail over something like that. Let the government work it out. Let them work it out, but it's okay for us to put a little fire under their asses, okay? So let me get my shout-outs out. And let's see who we had in here. So special shouts to Curtis J. for stopping in here today. And I want to thank everybody for bearing with me. I have been immensely under the weather for the past 2 weeks. So it's been very hard to get the episodes out. It's been very hard. But you guys have really stuck with me, even though YouTube is always pissed at me for some reason, like I'm the bad guy. But you guys are just, I'm going to give an applause for the people in the chat, the viewers. You guys have been awesome. Y'all, about y'all. And special shouts to Curtis J in the chat. Of course, you get the gong. Let's see what else we had. We had Zach C in there. Jesus Crust stopped by. Ghost 40 stopped by. The lovely IAMZ, of course, always supporting. She stopped by. Albon stopped by, and anybody else that was over in the rafters over there just watching. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. And we'll be back on Saturday. The panel is off until the 15th of November, though. So I'm not even sure what the Saturday show is going to be. It might be an on-site, out in the world show. Start testing some of this IRL type of stuff. Do some broadcasting from a location. Just kind of expanding a little bit. Not that I don't love this wonderful studio I have, but sometimes I like fresh air, and I just want to be out with my people. So if you're stuck in the house, end of the week, Thursday, get out a little bit, stretch your legs, prepare for the weekend. If you're a Halloween celebrator, please be safe when you go out and celebrate, and watch out for nuts in nut bars if you have a nut allergy, which I shouldn't have to say, but apparently the news thought it was newsworthy, so I mentioned it. But if you happen to be one of those folks that goes off of this place today, off of this purge, and you don't make it back here on Saturday, I'm going to be upset with you, because that would be the bull. Out. Y'all are awesome. You guys are awesome.